Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to convene this meeting of the Economic Development Committee. We've been joined by our colleagues, Marquise Harris Dawson, Neri Martinez, and Paul Krikorian. We have an action-packed agenda. Want your active and quick participation. Mr. Clerk, would you read the
item number one is a
for us? Oh, wait. Before you do that, we're going to move items 3, 4, 5, and 6 on consent, unless there's an objection, a strenuous objection, or even a light objection. Okay, seeing none, that will be the order. Mr. Clerk, tell us what is before us at this time, please.
Item number one is a CLA report in response to motion Krikorian Buscaino relative to a review of the local business preference program and recommendations for changes to more effectively target local businesses and ensure cost effectiveness of the program. On February 10, 2016, the Ad Hoc Committee on Comprehensive Job Creation Plan Committee approved the CLA report recommendations as amended. This item was also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, well, let's ask the CLA to join us. This is an important issue. We are all concerned about how we make the pie bigger and level the playing field for businesses in our city, local businesses. And I know you all have given it some thought. We've heard some of the recommendations earlier, but looking forward to your presentation at this time.
Thank you. Gabriel Salazar with the Office of the Chief Legislative Analyst, along with my supervisor, John Wickham. Yes, before you is our report in response to motion Krikorian Buscaino and committee comments raised on January 27th and August 25th of 2015 regarding the Local Business Preference Program. The Local Business Preference Program provides an 8% preference to local business enterprises on city contracts for goods, equipment, supplies, and construction for contracts greater than $150,000. Local business enterprises are eligible for LBE status provided that they meet one of three of the following criteria. One is that they demonstrate that at least 50 full-time employees perform 60% of the regular work hours in the county. Or number two, demonstrate that at least 50 full-time employees demonstrate at least half of the full-time employees perform 60% of the work in the county on an annual basis, or number three, that they're headquartered in Los Angeles County. Now, in order to study the effectiveness of this program, we consulted with other city departments and offices. These were the Bureau of Contract Administration, City Attorney, the Office of Finance, and the Information Technology Agency. So we coordinated with BCA to follow up with city departments regarding the participation of local business enterprises in their contracting. And BCA sent 2 follow-up requests in February 2015 and April 2015 for participation data to 37 city departments for the last 4 fiscal years. And based on those responses, some of the key findings that we'd found were that 26 of the 37 city departments provided complete information. Also, we found that the percentage of contracts won by local business enterprises ranged from 16 to 33% over the last 4 years, with an increase and spiking trend in numbers. Also, 3 out of the 2,043 contracts have gone to local businesses as a result of the preference, which has amounted to $5.2 million. Even though there is a low number of businesses getting or winning local business preference contracts due to the preference, we did see that 25% of local business enterprises have won city contracts.
Without the preference.
Exactly, without the preference. Our report notes that there are some challenges regarding reporting and certification administration. We have provided recommendations to address some of these issues and focus on the short term. With recommendation number 1, those suggest some improvements involving BCA and ITA in the short term and to report back in 6 months. And then also recommendation number 4 focuses more of a long-term strategy to improve the local business preference program, but then also study other city business programs and how maybe we could make them more efficient, streamline, improve them as well. And our office is here, BCA is also here, and city attorney in case you have any questions, so we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've been joined by Senator Gil Cedillo. Thank you, Senator. Yeah, we think this can really be an important tool, and I guess we really don't know, we don't know to what extent it's working. Apparently, you only got responses back from half of the city departments?
Yeah, 26 of the 37 provided complete responses.
Yeah. What do you think the failure to respond is based on? They're not doing anything, or they just
A variety of things.
want to be begged?
Them knowing that there's a program, but maybe not being fully compliant or having to report. So we're working with BCA. BCA has actually followed up with departments a couple of weeks back in response to the ad hoc committee on job creation. But yeah, it could be a variety of reasons why the departments don't respond.
Well, we appreciated the presentation at that ad hoc committee, and I think it was pretty clear that we wanted to put some teeth into this and to really use it as a tool. And right now, we're not quite sure what kind of tool it is. It's certainly it's significant that some businesses have been successful, but if it's not needed, it's one thing. If it's not being used or not being activated properly, that's another thing. And so hopefully the research that you're proposing and the further study will help us get to the bottom of that. Members, any comments or thoughts about this matter?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for all of your work on this. I think this is some of the most important subject matter we can be looking into as a city. I'm aware that we spend money telling other people to shop in LA, and it's not altogether clear that we do it ourselves. And so I really am appreciative of what you all are doing. I saw some of this in the documents that we received in preparation for this committee, but I wanted to hear directly from you all about cities in California that you thought did especially well in this regard, and sort of what some of the strategies they pursued were.
To be honest with you, Councilmember, and we didn't study other cities in depth. This report focused more on CLA, City of Los Angeles program, but we have made a recommendation in number 4 to study and review best practices in other cities, so we could learn what strategies, what ideas, what things they're doing that maybe we could implement in our program as well.
Any other comments? Ms. Martinez.
Yeah, I have a question. So when I was looking at, I know that one of the recommendations was to possibly amend our city charter so that we can better define the city boundaries. In doing so, have you looked at also perhaps, do we also need to change the charter in regards to the small business enterprise program? Because I know that currently that exists in Metro. Metro currently has a small business enterprise program, and I read in the report that one of the reasons, if I remember correctly, the report indicates that the city is unable to implement a similar program due to our charter restrictions. So is there a way, if one of the recommendations is to look at a charter amendment, can we include looking into, so that we can create a small business enterprise program here in the city?
We can look at that. Yeah, in our follow-up report.
It just talks about restrictions and that it required for us to commission a disparity study, and it also depends on the source of funding. So what is it going to take in order for us to create such a program? Because I think it's very successful. Okay. So that was one of my initial questions. Does anybody know?
And we do have city attorney here to answer any questions as well. I will say that the Metro program is based on the small business their small business enterprise program is based on business size, whereas our charter is specific to geographic.
Right, and the reason I bring it up is several months ago, I had met with a group of business women who indicated to me, and I believe it falls under the shared marketplace concept. And so the way they explained it to me was that at Metro, it becomes easier for them to compete with businesses their size because they have X amount of dollars that they're going to be able to put out for bid. And so these types of businesses all compete with, basically, it's leveling the playing field. They're not competing against the big dogs or competing against companies their size. And so one of my questions is like, why don't we do that here? And so I was wondering if that's what needed a charter amendment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Councilwoman, in fact, we are looking at a sheltered market plan. We'll be getting a report back on that specifically. I share your concern that we are.
I know you introduced a motion back in February, and so it was after I met with these women, but
Okay.
it's something that I'm interested in working on. And I also introduced, soon after I got elected, the Business Inclusionary Program, which Mr. Krikorian, I hope that we can include in the work group that is being recommended for us to establish as a way to look at another program of how we can strengthen that program as well. That's pretty much it. It's just alarming to me to see the statistics in your report that indicate that we've helped 3 local businesses in the past 4 years as part of the local business preference program. I think that's pretty pathetic.
It's very interesting. We've never had good data before, and this is the first time that we've had the opportunity to actually look at
data
this
now,
in
do
depth.
we?
Yeah.
We don't have the data now.
Yeah, it's getting better, right?
We have
Because of
26
this
out of
effort,
27
right?
departments, so, I mean, that's
Yeah. I guess
26 out of 37.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
The positive thing, I guess, if you can find a positive in this, is that there's been a growing number of local businesses that are getting work with the city without the benefit of the preference. So because the reports we had gotten were that it was far lower than the numbers that we're seeing in the actual data. So it's not as bad as we originally expected it to be. So I guess that's a silver lining on this. The recommendations here, though, will work to improve that number.
And so we can use the working group as a vehicle to provide the recommendations to the city charter. For example, if we need to move forward with amending the city charter, that would be a recommendation that can come through the working group.
Absolutely.
I just want to commend Mr. Krikorian for a great job. I've been following your work, and you've been doing this for quite some time. I think it's since 2013. You've been looking at the different types of programs that would incentivize not only local businesses, minority businesses, and businesses that we should incentivize and make sure that they're competing with businesses their own sizes, and not necessarily the big dogs who usually get the bigger contracts. And how do we do that with minority businesses as well? So,
Yeah.
good job.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good comments. I share them. I share your frustration. Whenever you have a program that only 3 or 4 are benefiting from, I think we need to look at that program. Either we don't need it, or we're not doing it right, or we need to do something different. I think we should be trying to assist more than 3 or 4, or to encourage more than 3 or 4 to take advantage of it. Councilman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Martinez. I think a couple of points on this. Mr. Wickham actually already kind of alluded to this, but number one, we're missing a third of our departments who haven't bothered to respond to this yet, despite 3 requests from BCA, despite the fact that this council instructed every department to provide this information. A third of them have not bothered to respond. And as we made clear at the ad hoc committee, the members of that committee, and I'm sure this committee as well, for anybody who's listening, want to make clear that it's unacceptable for any department to just blow off the specific instructions of the City Council of Los Angeles. So I expect those responses immediately. And we're going to make that as clear as we can, as many times as we can, number one. Number two, to Mr. Wickham's point, I think when we first started down this road, the expectation was, or the assumption was, and I think it was based on the data that was available at the time, was that 85% of the city's procurement expenditures were being spent outside of the city of Los Angeles. So when you see the numbers that are produced in this report, even if it not directly attributable to the preference, we see that the local purchasing has significantly increased since then. And maybe that's because of greater awareness, maybe that's because of other efforts aside from this, but we're going in the right direction, and that's the good news. And I hope that when we get the complete data from the missing departments, we'll see even more participation. But what we do see with this, even with this relatively small participation, is tremendous cost effectiveness, because at very small cost, there's been a tremendous multiplier impact in terms of the economic benefit that we've seen. So we know that it works. We need to get more of it, I guess, is the conclusion that we can draw from this.
Thank you, Councilman. And I agree. We want to certainly send the message that we expect all the departments to comply. I mean, not providing us with the data is just unacceptable. And so
Do we know which one? Can we get a list of those who haven't complied? Is it in the report? I was trying to look for
I
it.
didn't see it in the report.
It's not in the report,
Yeah.
but we do have that list, yes.
I don't think, does everyone have it, or you're the only one that has it?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't
I have
seen
not
it.
seen it, no.
We can send you that list.
Yes, please do. Let's make sure all the members get it.
Okay.
Are we giving them another opportunity?
Yes, BC actually followed up.
Are we contacting them for the fourth time?
Well, on behalf of the ad hoc committee, they will be receiving a letter today from me to that effect. And,
Maybe I should send a letter as well. We'll send a letter as well. Let's do that.
BCA also sent a follow-up email immediately following that meeting.
Doing what? Apologizing?
They're apologizing?
No. You
So
said.
requesting the information.
Oh, requesting additional information. Okay. You received one. All right, members. Well, let's. We do have some cards on this, so let's take the cards and then we will dispose of it. Patricia McAllister, Juan Acala. Just Patricia? Okay. Okay. Ms. McAllister, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. I have concerns about this. As I said in the last meeting, I like to have created a BBE, a Black Business Enterprise, because blacks are not getting contracts with the city of Los Angeles. Illegal aliens are. I also like to have some kind of language in these contracts prohibiting illegal aliens from being involved in contracts. Not only will they not be prime subcontractors, we don't want them as subcontractors either. We don't want them having business licenses, like they can go downstairs to the finance department, walk across the border today, go downstairs to the finance department tomorrow and get a license. How do I know? I checked. All they need is some kind of phony ID. They may need an ID from Mexico. So we need to crack down. If you don't do that, we will still have illegal aliens, blacks on Skid Row, and blacks being 80% of the homeless. 40,000 African Americans are on the street in Los Angeles. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. There are no more cards. Members, if
You didn't call my name?
you didn't, not for this item, sir.
Oh, I heard you.
But you're on the next item, so just
I believe
stay
there's
tuned.
no illegal
Okay, thank you.
thing in the world.
All right, thank you for your presence. Members, if there's no objection, though, we're going to concur with the ad hoc committee, the comprehensive committee on job creation job creation committee report. It was a very thorough set of recommendations made, and we look forward to the report backs that are called out in that as well. So there being no objections, that will be the order. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, what's our next item, please?
Item number 2 is a city clerk report in response to motion Fuentes Blumenfield relative to business improvement district best practices, legal issues, and policy restrictions. On January 13, 2016, the ad hoc on comprehensive job creation plan committee approved the city clerk recommendations.
Okay, once again, we're tinkering with the toolbox, trying to get these tools straight and effective. And so we know that the business improvement districts are playing an exciting role in helping to foster economic development throughout the city, wherever they're located, and we're anxious to hear what's possible. But before that, let's take some cards, huh? Mr. Kala? Why don't you come on up, Ms. McAllister?
I believe Donald Trump is very smart because he hasn't messed with the blacks. He's afraid of them. And this lady here is messing with the so-called illegal aliens. That's pure BS.
Okay, just stay on topic if you don't mind.
Yeah, there's no illegal human being in the world, in my opinion. And why should the blacks be pitted against the Mexicans? It's ridiculous. The blacks were brought here from Africa. The Mexicans were already here. Yeah,
You're not on the subject, sir, if you don't
yeah,
mind.
yeah. Well, it has to do with economic. Who washes all your dishes? Who cooks all your food? It's Latinos. Blacks don't want to do those jobs anymore. So this lady that's, bad-mouthing
Thank you for the social
people that
commentary.
really work.
Thank you, sir.
I'm in love with black people. Those are my people. All my teachers from 1st to 8th grade were African American. I want contracts for black people. I don't care what the Mexicans do, the Italians, the Jews, nobody. I'm talking about black people, and we're the ones that are being discriminated against and Holocaust in this nation. And I'm not just making this up. We need to do something, and we're going to do it quick. We need to get a program just for black people and a black person to monitor those contracts. Like I said, I owned a business in Chicago for 12 years. I know about MBE, WBE, and all of that. I know how they front. They front for the whites and the Hispanics and all of that. We want to make sure blacks get these contracts. The reason blacks are on the street is because they don't have jobs. And Leimert Park, don't touch it. You'll pull a train through there before you let black people sell something. You got illegal aliens. They've taken over Westwood. What's his name? Yeah, right there. Cedilio, or I call him Cedilio. That's how I pronounce his name. I'm going to get you out of office, sir.
Please, no personal attacks. All right, thank you. Let's ask the city clerk and trusted deputy to join us.
Good afternoon, Holly Walcott, City Clerk. With me is Miranda Pastor, who is the chief of our Business and Neighborhood Improvement District Division.
Yes, she
And
is.
today we're here to report on a Fuentes-Blumenfield motion on the best practices of business improvement districts across the nation. Staff did a great job of looking at different bid programs and basically identified the two top ones would have been San Francisco and New York, and made various recommendations based on those two cities. They're categorically, we divided them 4 ways. The first one was public information campaign and capacity building. And so what we're suggesting is that we get the word out, that we do a public relations program so that the rest of the city can see what a good job they do, trying to gain interest.
Have we ever done anything like that before?
What's that?
Have we ever done anything
No,
like
we
that
have not.
before in the
No.
years we've had
No,
business
we have
improvement
not,
districts?
yeah. This would be new. So ideally to help generate interest in new bids. The second recommendation has to do with developing leadership among the different bids so that they all have the same tools and they all have the ability to do their jobs well. We have some of the larger bids that have an easier time than the smaller ones because they were able to pay professional staff. But the idea would be to provide leadership training for all the bids and make sure that they all have the tools to be the most effective. We also would like to, moving on to electronic assistance, we'd like to make it easier for them to submit reports and to do it to do it in forms so that they're not spending a lot of time.
How does it occur now?
It's paper. They submit reports, and sometimes they go back and forth 3 or 4 or 5 times. And we think that that's inefficient, and it's not helpful to them, and it wastes their staff time, that they could be doing other things. And, on our side, we
Is there a
have...
specific format that they're supposed to follow, or they're each
Well,
different? That's why
you have
you
to-
send it back? You didn't get the...
There's some specific things that have to be, by state law, there's specific things that have to be included in the quarterly reports and the annual reports. And a lot of the things that they get wrong, which we don't understand, is numbers. Because sometimes it's just a spreadsheet and the numbers of what they're going to be expended was predetermined in their management district plan. But we want to make it easier for them. We want to make it so that they can just fill in blanks rather than have to do a lot of narrative and, because the idea is that what people want to know is, what is the money going for? How is the money being spent and what services are being provided? We also want to work with other city departments and see how, Miranda wants to set up a interdepartmental task force so that we can make sure that we're providing the best support we can as a city. So it's probably better if I turn the mic over to Miranda to explain this one, because I think you know way more about it than I do.
Some of the bids, when they apply for permits for sidewalk improvements or what have you, banners, they have a difficult time getting things through the city. And so, and in addition to that, the baseline services agreement, the state law requires for the baseline services that the city provides to remain the same when a bid is formed. And so having a baseline services agreement that the city agrees to keep certain services such as street sweeping or other services that the city would provide, or trash pickup, have that remain the same, and then all of the bid services would be supplemental to the city services. So just kind of having more connectivity between and more ease of doing business with the city with the bids.
So our
And
recommendation...
it lets bid members know exactly what they can expect and what the city's going to be doing as well.
Exactly.
So our recommendations, starting on page 4, basically summarize all the things that Miranda and I have just spoke about, and basically we're asking to utilize bid trust fund dollars to, and the first item was for the outreach, to do an RFP for an outreach, then also an RFP for the public relations. We're going to keep our eye open for grants, and
the bid trust fund, I guess, is created from assessing all the bids, or how does that come about? How much is in there now?
I don't know what the total is, but basically there's two sources of funds for the bid trust fund. One is the funds that are put in from the general fund to pay the next year's bids assessments. So when the budget is determined, we're a year and a half out of what the assessments will actually be. So it's a guesstimate. So sometimes there's savings from what the city's assessments are. When then we also recover a percentage of our contracts of the business improvement districts. We recover a certain percentage off the top, varying from 0.5% to 6%? 5%. 5% for administering the bids. So that's the source. So there is, we would have to get back to you on a reconciliation of the entire trust fund.
1 million, 10 million, 100 million? What's in there?
A couple million, I want to say. I mean, they're at any one given time it changes. I mean, because at the beginning of the year, if we owe 3 or 4 million in assessments, then we'll have paid that. We should have paid that by now, right? I would think it's about this time of year we usually pay our assessments.
Okay. All right.
So then our other recommendations, kind of what Miranda was saying, working as a task force, we'd like to ask the city attorney to evaluate the Prop 218. We still have issues with the definition of general funds. General benefits, not general funds. General benefits, that has plagued bid programs in California because of that special law, and it's been very difficult to define the difference between a special. It's not been difficult to define, it's been different to measure. It's been difficult to measure what is a special versus general benefit. And I think we're open to answer any questions.
Okay, members? Any questions? All right, ladies, you've done an extraordinary job setting this up for us and making the presentation. Members, if there's no objection, I'm going to move that we approve the 11 recommendations made regarding the business improvement districts and improvement of them. If there's any comment? No objection, that will be the order. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your assistance. Okay. We've got two on for public comment, Juan Cala and Patricia McAllister. In that order?
As far as African Americans getting their share of these contracts with the city, I think we should get 20%. 20%, Lamert Park, the vendors that they have out there on Sunday, we want them to be the first to be able to bid on these contracts. As we know, most of them don't know anything about starting a business, so we want to give them startup funds, not loans. These are funds to start their businesses and give them training on how to do their books and things like that, get them started. In order for the black community to grow, we're going to have to do this. Now, we're not going to have these Jews up in there using usury and ripping them off, okay?
No.
Excuse me, this is public comment, and this is my comment. Jew, I can say any word I want to say, okay? We're not going to have Jews. They're already charging homeowners 250%. That's usury, okay? So don't tell me I can't say the word Jew. I can say the word Jew, illegal alien. That's part of communism. That's taking Americans' freedom of speech when you tell them what the words they can't say. I say any darn thing I want to say.
He's not protecting speech. First Amendment.
Part of what she's saying is that she was not very well educated. That's what you get with the lack of education. You get prejudice one way or another. And we got to stop prejudice at any point. Martin Luther King would be turning over on his grave if he heard this lady speak, mentioning the color of the skin. What the hell does the color of the skin have to do with the content of what people are all about? Huh? What is it? Aren't we all human beings? Why are blacks so divisive against Mexicans? Why is that? Why doesn't Donald Trump ever mention the blacks? He mentions the Mexicans. Is he a fucking redneck or what? He is a total redneck. And I don't want people like Krikorian appearing to be supporting rednecks either. Okay?
Thank you.
Don't worry about that.
Thank you, redneck.
Not much chance of that one.
Mr. Clerk, is there any other business before us at this time?
Hooray for rednecks.
Mr. Clerk, is there any other business before us?
No, sir.
Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.